What's up, guys?
Hey.
We are back for another week of the Young Dumb Crypto Show. Last week we talked about fiat and how our US dollar has evolved over time.
Yeah, we talked about up through probably the 2008 financial crash, and that's about the time that Satoshi released the white paper for Bitcoin. So now it's time to get to it and talk about what is Bitcoin. It's a digital currency and a payment network.
So we've seen the payment networks evolve over time. You know, we used to write checks. I occasionally still write them, which is weird.
I've never done a check in my life.
How to write a check. Fill out checks correctly so that the bank and payee can clearly read them.
Then we go to Visa and credit cards, debit cards, and everything. And that was weird for everybody, right? Like, what are these plastic cards that are money?
American Express. It's the only credit card you really need for travel and entertainment worldwide.
And then we went to something that's PayPal, which people are still figuring out how to use PayPal. You could use it to send money overseas, different currencies, take online payments, and
From
now
anywhere in the world.
PayPal connects hundreds of millions of people spending, sending, and receiving billions of dollars.
Which is huge.
Yeah, and now we have Bitcoin, which is basically the next payment network and evolution of our money system.
Exactly. So Bitcoin is a payment network, just like all those he just mentioned, as well as its own currency on that network. They use Bitcoin.
We know that all these currencies are digital now, and we live in a digital age, and so Bitcoin is no different. So what makes it unique?
There's a lot of particular factors that make Bitcoin different from a lot of the digital currencies that we're already using. First one is its set supply. You've heard us talk a lot about supply and central banks and how they control the increase and kind of manipulate the circulating supply of money for their own gains. Well, one thing that's unique about Bitcoin is there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin created ever.
That brings into what is mining. And mining is what it costs to produce a Bitcoin in order to obtain it. Just like gold was hard to get out of the ground, Bitcoin is getting harder and harder to mine as time goes on because there's being less and less of it.
Right, it's becoming more rare as a digital asset. It's a rare digital asset. There's a set supply, only 21 million, and as time goes on, they're getting harder and harder and harder to create.
So anyone can mine Bitcoin.
So we're actually miners ourselves, but just to keep it high level right now, mining is basically a bunch of very high-end computers doing algorithms all across the world, thousands of computers solving math problems basically on the Bitcoin network to secure and verify each transactions. And each one of those transactions becomes a data point that goes into a block, which over time as it builds, the blocks connect, creating a chain of blocks or the blockchain.
The blockchain is just a ledger of all the transactions on the Bitcoin network.
Exactly, and it's immutable over time. It can never be changed. So anything that's logged on the blockchain network, it's open source and anybody can look at and go back.
It's public.
Yeah, it's public. Anybody can see it over time and see exactly every transaction that's ever happened.
People will be able to mine this until 2140 is when about the last Bitcoin will be mined.
Blockchains store information across a network of personal computers, making them not just decentralized, but distributed. This means no central company or person owns the system, yet everyone can use it and help run it.
The Bitcoin network, since it's decentralized and all the sensitive information and everybody's data is spread across tens of thousands of computers all across the world, there's no central point of attack that anybody can attack any information, so it's much, much, much more secure than any other digital currency that's ever existed.
Allison, can you explain what internet is?
Another unique factor about the Bitcoin network is that its payments are all peer-to-peer. There is no middleman. There is no one else controlling your funds but you.
Right, so that means there's nobody else required to perform in order for the transaction to go through. As long as I want to transfer value from my person to another person, it just happens, regardless of anybody else fulfilling their role or their contract.
Which makes things super efficient. It will bring down transaction times and fees and allows you to send money anywhere in the world for very, very affordable. So everyone that's new to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, the way these transactions happen could get a little bit confusing. There's actually a lot of algorithms, a lot of math, a lot of things that are going on. We're gonna just keep it simple today.
Yeah, but the important thing to note is that right now, every transaction that happens between anybody in the world that requires a third party involved. So if I want to transfer money to Brian or my buddy in China or anywhere else in the world, somebody, whether it's Visa or PayPal or my local bank, somebody has to perform on their contract in order for that to be able to happen. It's not just between me and whoever I want to transfer to. It's between me, that person, and the bank. At any point, the payment can be stopped, your funds can be seized for any number of reasons, and there's nothing really you can do about it for a lot of cases, where now I can directly transfer from one person to another without relying on any other centralized authority.
It's called civil asset forfeiture. It's a fancy title that basically lets the federal as well as state and local governments take your money without charging you with a crime if they only think that money may have been used as part of some criminal activity. More than $2 billion has been seized.
Exactly. That's one of the things that really struck me in the Andreas Antonopoulos video, that was money as a system of control. I really hope you guys watch that. If not, we're going to link it in the description again below because I think it's a really great video. And one of the things he says in there is massive, and it really kind of put it in perspective for me that, like, you don't have any money in the bank. You have an account at the bank, and you have a contract between you and the bank that says you're allowed to withdraw their money at the speed at which you agree to. So you basically give them all of your money with an unsecured loan, and they can tell you when you can get it back and where you can send it to and who you can send it to. They set all the rules because it really is their money.
You don't own legally any of the money that's in your account.
What I love about Bitcoin is that it flattens the system. Just like the internet flattened the system of information. We all have access to Google now. We all have access to learn more at a touch of a button. Now we will all be able to transact with each other, and it just flattens the way that our monetary system will work.
Totally, and it's one of the big things for us to keep in mind. Just as this is not as much for people in the United States and Europe and kind of first world countries. If you think about the impact of a smartphone or internet connection hitting a small village and having access to information to learn anything you want, having access to communicate with anybody in the world, like the amount of possibilities that opens up is just massive. So now this is doing the exact same thing with money, where anybody with an internet connection now has access to first world banking and can engage in the world in commerce and sales like they've never been able to before.
Access to the internet has opened up a window to information about different ways of farming.
Pupuk organik kan di situ. Kita belajar dari internet.
The village is also using the internet to promote their farming products to the outside world.
Bitcoin and blockchain is something that is not going away.
It's here to stay.
It's not just something that we're obsessed with and trying to get you to get involved. We do want you to get involved because it's going to change how everything works, and we need to understand why.
Exactly. This is like, we see it as like the internet of our generation. It is a base layer protocol that's going to change the way everybody in the world transacts.
We have been talking about money and currency a lot, and that is just one facet of the technology that is behind Bitcoin.
Exactly. Bitcoin was really just a proof of concept for this blockchain technology and direct peer-to-peer payments. And now that that has been proven as a use case as direct payments, the amount of things that people have come up with using this blockchain technology to increase efficiency and productivity is insane.
So over the next couple weeks, we are going to be showing you guys some interviews we did with people at World CryptoCon, some really interesting projects, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it should be really interesting. We met some really cool people there. We got to ask a lot of good questions, so let us know what you think, and we plan to do a lot more interviews in the future.
All right, next week, we'll see you soon, guys.
We're out.
just young, dumb, and broke, but we still got love to give while we're young, dumb, young, dumb.